Here we go. Happy Tuesday. Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr., and no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, I appreciate you for making today's show a part of your day. Of course, plenty to get into in the lead up to the Niners preseason finale on Friday night against the Las Vegas Raiders. We're going to preview that game. We're going to get to the latest on Brandon Aiyuk. There's a lot of Niners injury news to get to as well, as San Francisco did return to the practice field today in Santa Clara. Brock Purdy practicing very well today, flushing that performance against the New Orleans Saints. The highlight, a deep ball to Robbie Chosen Anderson over Deommodore Lenoir and Jair Brown, who were in coverage, but it was a dime from Brock Purdy. So all of that is coming up here on the show. Chase Sr. here with you, producer Jake Chipper on the ones and twos, and let's get the comment section going here. Where are you tuning in from? What's incredible about this show is that we have made the 49ers Report a community for all of the faithful, and we hit you with shows every single day. News, rumors, analysis, breaking news, live shows, watch parties. But what's interesting is that we have people tuned in from every pocket of America and worldwide. So let me know where you're hanging out right now watching the show from. Wet Noodle, Spokane, Washington. I see Arkansas, Atlanta, South Carolina, Virginia, Kansas City, Indiana, Norfolk, Virginia, California, New Jersey, Brazil as we go international. Redding, California, Paris, Texas, Los Angeles, Memphis. I wasn't lying when I told you we have people hanging out from everywhere. And we have a couple of great sponsors who are making today's 49ers Report possible. The first one is Prize Picks, the largest independently run daily fantasy sports app in North America with more than 5 million users. It's daily fantasy sports made easy. Pick 2 or more players, choose more or less on their projected stats, and you can win up to 25 times your money. All you have to do, download the app, create an account, head to prizepicks.com/CLNS for up to a $100 deposit match. Our other sponsor is Game Time. If you're looking for the best seats at the lowest price guaranteed, prices drop as the event gets closer. On the Game Time app, you're guaranteed to get the lowest price. And we have a great deal for you on Game Time as well. Use the code CHATSPORTS. You get $20 off. Terms apply. First purchase only. So if you want to go to a San Francisco Giants game, a San Francisco 49ers game, there are still plenty of tickets available. So download the app, create an account there. Use the code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. We'll put all of this information down below in the comment section and in the description of today's San Francisco 49ers Report. We have 340 people watching live right now. Please make sure you hit that thumbs up icon and you like the video. A lot of you got that notification and you're watching this show because you want to get to the latest on Brandon Aiyuk. So let's pivot there. Jordan Schultz, NFL insider, and he's done a really good job climbing up the ladder among NFL insiders. Last week, he broke the Matthew Judon trade from the Patriots to the Atlanta Falcons. He just tweeted this out a little while ago. Sources: the 49ers and wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk had another meeting yesterday. Talks continue to progress on a long-term contract extension. There has been movement on a deal, but there are some minor details that still need to be ironed out with ownership approval. So this sounds a lot like the report that we heard last week from Mike Garafolo, that the Niners want Aiyuk back. Aiyuk wants the Niners. If the Niners wanted to move on, they could have traded him away. If Aiyuk wanted out truly, even though he requested a trade, he would have been moved by now. They've agreed to a lot of the key elements of this contract extension. It's all about ironing out some of the nuances, some of the complexities of this deal. So hopefully a deal will get done soon. It's going to be fascinating to see how much money the Niners give Aiyuk. Guaranteed money, average annual value, the years on the contract. We certainly will see, and when that news does break, we'll bring it to you right here on the Niners Report. There's also an Aiyuk update from Adam Schefter, and he injected some optimism into the situation as well. And Schefter said, look, I expect things to start to heat up on the Aiyuk front this week. At some point in time, Schefter said, the 49ers need to get a resolution. So I would expect this issue to heat up this week at some point in time because it has reached a critical juncture. And I agree, because at some point, the 49ers need to incorporate Aiyuk into this offense. And if Aiyuk were to get traded somewhere else, he's going to have to learn a completely new offensive system, get up to speed, and ramp up very quickly prior to week 1, because the acquiring team, if it's the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're going to want Aiyuk after trading for him, giving him a contract extension, to impact their team right from the jump week 1, and it is not early, or it is not easy, to try to master a new offensive system. So I think soon there has to be some type of decision, some type of resolution. I also think there is a little bit of a risk of soft tissue injury. The more that you wait, the lesser time that you have to get Aiyuk on the field, and if he has to rush it, is that going to lead to injury? Dr. Jesse Morris, I thought, made a valid point on X, genuinely starting to worry about the lack of team-related training for Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Aiyuk. The lack of proper volume of training, in his opinion, puts them at an increased risk of soft tissue injuries. Think hamstring, quads, calf strains. We are just under 2 weeks away from week 1, and the clock is ticking. Cerebral Assassin, a $2 super chat. Thank you so much for that. He said, "What's up, Niner faithful?" And then Matthew Keller getting involved as well. Appreciate that, my brother, sending in the $5 super chat. If Brandon Aiyuk gets paid, my biggest concern would be production. Like how Bosa held out until week 1, his production was down. Hopefully that is not the case. And I share some of those same concerns. Nick Bosa was not the same guy at the start of the season, because I thought that he was just a fraction off, and we didn't see the same dominant Bosa because he didn't sign until the Wednesday of the season opener, and it took him a little while to get acclimated with that game speed, because that is something that is very difficult to replicate. Lamar Livingston, he is a first-time super chatter. Lamar with the 20. I am waiting for this to be done. Let's go Niners. I think everybody is in agreement on that. We just want this to be over. Number 11, back in a Niner uniform for the foreseeable future, back on the practice field, and start looking ahead to week 1 against a very good New York Jets defense. Our super chat battle here today, preseason finale, it's the Niners against the Raiders, Allegiant Stadium. Unfortunately, the site of the Super Bowl from February, but always a great rivalry game and a preseason tradition. The Raiders report live right now. They have $400 in super chats. We're up to $27, and now we're up to $32 because Rick Nyers with a $5 super chat. He said, "Let's go Niners, Super Bowl bound." If you want to type LG4 or LGN down in the comments section, let's go 49ers. Let's go Niners. You can do that right now. Okay, we have a great audience to start the program here today. So many great other content creators out there who talk about the Niners. So anytime you decide to hang out with me, Chip, right here on the Niners Report by Chat Sports, we are so appreciative of that. And if you're ready to start talking some San Francisco, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. We should have 300 likes in no time. So hit that thumbs up icon, support the show. We certainly appreciate that. Let's begin with expanding our thoughts on Brandon Aiyuk. There's also a lot of Niners injury news to get to. So that will be segment number 1. We are going to preview this game against the Las Vegas Raiders and do some Niners cut candidates after 2 preseason tilts. The San Francisco 49ers Report is live, and the official show starts right now. So tell your friends, and let's go. What is up? Welcome into the show. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr., and no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, I appreciate you for making today's show a part of your day. There's a lot to get into. We have some injury news that's important leading into this preseason finale against the Las Vegas Raiders, and we have a very important Brandon Aiyuk update as well. We put an earlier Aiyuk update up on the channel. That video is popping off, and just like it's been over the last couple of months, this situation remains fluid, and there is new information pertaining to Aiyuk. Let's begin on the injury front with Ricky Pearsall. He will not practice this week, unfortunately, which means he will not suit up against the Las Vegas Raiders. So in turn, the 31st overall pick from April's 2024 NFL Draft will have not played a preseason snap as a rookie. That is not ideal news for San Francisco here, considering I think that they were going to be counting on him to be a part of this offense this upcoming season during his rookie campaign. So not a good start here for the rookie throughout training camp. He's dealt with a hamstring injury, started camp on the non-football injury list, was able to come back, didn't do much until he suffered a shoulder injury. And this is a complex offensive system that Kyle Shanahan is running. We know that Kyle Shanahan is very tight and runs a tight ship as far as rookies playing for him from the jump, whether it be on the offensive side of the football or the defensive side of the football, because he needs to know and make sure that those rookies are ready to go and they're not going to mess up, costing the team on any given play, any given down, any given game. And then when you think about the position that Ricky Pearsall plays, this Niners team is very deep at wide receiver. So is there going to be room for him to even get snaps as a rookie when he comes back, knowing he didn't play in any preseason games and was barely able to practice and partake in a lot of these team drills of late? There's that obvious acclimation period to the National Football League, and Ricky Pearsall hasn't had that acclimation period. So you wonder now what his rookie year will look like. Will he contribute, or will this be a redshirt year? Now, from the macro standpoint, I'm sure some people are worried about Ricky Pearsall being brittle, him being injury prone. The good news is at Arizona State and then at Florida after he transferred, injuries weren't a great concern. In 2019, played 13 games, no starts as a freshman. In 2020, 4 games, pandemic-shortened season, was not injured then. In 2021, 13 games, 11 starts. In 2022, 13 games, 10 starts. And then in 2023, 12 games, 12 starts. So he was not banged up at Arizona State or Florida. That's the good news. But the concerns from me in the pre-draft process, and I said this after the Niners drafted him as well, that stunner of a pick, 31st overall, when I thought there were bigger needs and better players left on the draft board, is that Pearsall is a little bit small. So I wasn't sure then, and I'm not sure now, how his body type is going to hold up and translate to the NFL level. And then there was a development from over the weekend, Sunday Night Football, at the wide receiver position with a fellow rookie alongside Ricky Pearsall. We haven't seen Pearsall. We saw Jacob Cowing, though. And he made his professional debut and did it with a bang. Made that really nice catch along the sideline. Good awareness along the sideline to know where he was. Had to slow up a little bit on that football from Josh Dobbs. It was a very well-thrown ball, if you noticed. Josh Dobbs kind of had to pump fake, and then he let it rip downfield, and it was right here for Jacob Cowing, who got hit as he caught that ball. He was able to contribute as a returner and brought some pop to the return game, and I actually thought the most impressive play that Jacob Cowing was able to make was the end around where he beat the edge, who was right here, to the sideline, then turned it upfield, and he turned that from garbage into gold, a 19-yard pickup. Jacob Cowing looks as though he could be a legitimate weapon for head coach Kyle Shanahan this year and be used inside, outside, gadget player, and a dynamic weapon in the return game. Other players returning to practice this week because Jacob Cowing returned to practice last week and put together a couple of really good practices. Running back Isaac Guerrero, we haven't seen him in a long time. He got injured, I believe, the first practice of training camp, another hamstring injury. He has had hamstring injuries all throughout his college career, going back to high school, some concerns there. And he's a speedster, a trackster, who keeps being held back by some hamstring ailments. Running back Patrick Taylor has missed some time. Not sure why. His injury has never really been disclosed. Spencer Burford broke his hand. He went out of the lineup. Dominic Pooney stepped in at right guard because of an injury also to John Feliciano. More on him coming up later here on the show. And Dominic Pooney now is not going to relinquish that job. He's going to be this team starting right guard week 1 against the New York Jets, but it's good to get some depth back in Burford because Feliciano is going to be out a little while. And then Ben Barch returning to practice as well, a backup center and guard. Next, Talanoa Hufanga. Positive update on this front. He visited with his doctors last Thursday, and he got some good news from that visit. He will not return to practice this week, but Kyle Shanahan saying today on this Tuesday, August 20th of 2024, that there is a chance that Talanoa Hufanga returns week 1 against the New York Jets. And the safety position for San Francisco is certainly an interesting one. I think Jair Brown is due for a breakout year. George Odom traditionally has been a special teams player, but he has had a really good training camp as just a straight-up safety, making plays on the football, looking comfortable back there. Malik Mustafa, the rookie, 4th-round pick out of Wake Forest. He's physical. He's versatile. He has range. You can use him as a chess piece on that defense. I think he's a really intriguing player. So what are the Niners going to do week 1 at that safety spot? It's to be determined because of the health status of Talanoa Hufanga. And going back and circling back to John Feliciano, had to undergo surgery on his knee. The Niners did not release what type of knee injury he has been dealing with all throughout training camp. He will miss, though, about half the year. And Kyle Shanahan saying he probably starts the season on injured reserve. Before we continue to move forward and coming up next, another Brandon Aiyuk update. Niners-Raiders Friday night. I know it's the preseason, but San Francisco is expected to play their starters. And anytime the Niners and the Raiders, two Bay Area rivals who clash, when they do clash, it's always a lot of fun. And it's a rivalry inside the walls of Chat Sports. On yesterday's show, on the Niners Report, it's approaching 50,000 views. We picked up 142 new subscribers. The Raiders Report yesterday on Monday picked up 23 new subscribers. Hit that sub button right now. Let's beat the Raiders Report here at Chat Sports and on the field on Friday. Bang, bang, Niner gang, always faithful to the Bay. The Raiders, never faithful to the Bay. Coming up next, as I mentioned, another Brandon Aiyuk update from Adam Schefter. And then this afternoon, NFL insider Jordan Schultz with a very interesting report as it looks as though Aiyuk could be returning to the San Francisco 49ers. Our sponsor for today's show is PrizePicks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app in North America with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it is just you against the numbers, and all you do is pick more or less on 2-6 player stat projections, and then you watch the winnings roll in. So get in on the daily action with your friends and become a part of the PrizePicks community today. There is a great special throughout September. 1 Caleb Williams passing yard. Each game gets you 1 win on PrizePicks. Other selections that we like as far as football goes. Patrick Mahomes, less than 4,299.5 passing yards. Tyreek Hill, more than 1,375.5 passing yards. Saquon Barkley, I think he rushes for more than 1,000 yards. He's at 999.5. I like the more there. And then Garrett Wilson, more than 90.5 receptions. So download the app for free, create an account, head to prizepicks.com/CLNS, use the code CLNS for up to a $100 deposit match. As for that Brandon Aiyuk update, Adam Schefter shedding some light on what's going on with Aiyuk and what he expects might transpire this week. Is a decision looming? he said some interesting things, and then Jordan Schultz reported this on Tuesday afternoon. Sources: the 49ers and wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk had another meeting yesterday, and talks continue to progress on a long-term contract extension. There has been movement on a deal, but there are some minor details that still need to be ironed out with ownership approval. So let's stay here for a moment here, Chip. This really does sound a lot like Mike Garafolo's report last week. The Niners want Aiyuk. Aiyuk wants the Niners. If the Niners wanted to move on from Aiyuk, they probably would have traded him by now. If Aiyuk really wanted out, he would have forced the issue and he would have been traded somewhere else. But both sides are trying to continue their partnership here. They've agreed to a lot of the key elements of a contract extension, but they're trying to iron out a lot of the nuances and a lot of the finer print in this contract. Both sides want to win the negotiation. There's millions of dollars at stake. And as far as what they have to figure out, it could be guaranteed money, average annual value, signing bonus, guaranteed money at signing, overall guaranteed money, average annual value years. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Now let's go to Adam Schefter, who also said this on Tuesday. The 49ers know they need Brandon Aiyuk out there. He's made a lot of plays for them over time. He's had a great run, and they want to get that deal done. They've made multiple offers to try and keep him, but for whatever reason, that deal hasn't gotten done, and that has allowed other teams to enter the fray with trade conversations. Those other teams who have entered the fray, it's been New England, Aiyuk turned it down. Cleveland, Aiyuk turned it down. Commanders, dropped out of the race. It's really Pittsburgh or San Francisco. If another team enters the fold, I will be absolutely shocked. But the fact that this continues to linger is why we continue to have questions. What's going on? What's the holdup? And is there going to be a divorce? I don't think that's the case. I've said all offseason, I think Aiyuk returns to San Francisco somewhere in that $28 million per year range. But shoot, it might even be more at this point. More from Schefter on the Niners' number one wide receiver. I think we're at the point now where we're going to start to get a push here to see how this winds up, how it's resolved. And I think the 49ers would like to keep him, want to keep him. I still think that's the more likely scenario. But to think there's any likely scenario for this particular situation would be a mistake. And here we are, August 20th. Nothing is still done. And I just think everybody is at the point where they know they need to get a resolution, whatever that is. And I talked about this earlier here on the show. At some point, the Niners need to incorporate Brandon Aiyuk into this offense. He needs to start getting some live practice reps. He's not going to get any live game reps before week 1, but he knows this offensive system. He has a great rapport with Brock Purdy. They have developed a great on-field chemistry. Brandon Aiyuk is a perfect wide receiver for this system because of the complete route tree, him being a complete wide receiver, him being a willing blocker, but you can't replicate the physicality of an actual game. And the actual games are starting very soon. The second week of September is when the Niners take on the New York Jets. And you need to incorporate Aiyuk into this offense because he's a focal point of your offense. And if you don't have him, you need to start planning for that. As a reminder, what an offseason this has been. From Aiyuk's friend and his girlfriend throwing some comments out there that Aiyuk was going to play for the Raiders, that he was going to leave the Niners, from the tweet directly to Mike Tomlin, to all of the Instagram stories, the TikTok with Jane Daniels, the trade request. It has been a wild, chaotic, arduous ride, a frustrating ride. And Brandon Aiyuk already requested that trade more than a month ago on July 16th. Where has time gone? Hopefully that timing leads to Aiyuk signing very, very soon. Be sure to give me a follow on X. Give me a follow on Instagram at Chase_Senior. In addition to the long-form content here on the Niners Report, a lot of short-form content and Niners thoughts on the social media pages. Let's take a look at our Super Chat battle. Niners, Raiders, Friday night. Raiders Report, $400 in Super Chats. The Niners Report, only one segment in, up to $32 in Super Chats. Can we take down the Las Vegas Raiders Report here inside the walls of Chat Sports, and then on the field at Allegiant Stadium on Friday night. John Wallace, Fantasy Beast, Dave Zobel, Steven Lopez, Joji, all in the chat right now. Good to see some of the real ones here. And let's move forward to segment number 2. And I'm excited to dive into segment number 2. San Francisco has played 2 preseason games so far. And there are some players who are on the roster bubble. So we are going to take a look at some Niners cut candidates.
Also got up in the live chat right now. New poll question here. First one of the day. Do the Niners need Brandon Aiyuk? Yes or no? I know a lot of people are probably just sick of the situation at this point. But do the Niners need him? Can they win a Super Bowl without him? Yes or no? Matt Keller!
Matt Keller, another 5. With cornerback depth, do you think Renardo Green will step in for Ambry Thomas, or will Demo move to the outside and Green goes to nickel? So, interesting stuff here. Renardo Green has played well in training camp. He's turning some heads. He's impressing. Had a really good rep on a pass breakup against the Saints. The one catch that he gave up, I thought he had good coverage on Chris Olave, who is the Saints' #1 wide receiver, but he was right there and made the tackle. Matt Mayoko, NBC Sports Bay Area, saying yesterday, and obviously he has a good pulse on this team, that Renardo Green is working his way into contention for having a significant role week 1. And in the Niners' nickel defense, it would be Renardo Green moving to the outside, Diamador Lenore moving from outside to inside. So then on the outside, it would be Ward Green. On the inside, it would be Diamador Lenore. But you still have some good depth pieces. Isaac Yadam's been hurt. We'll see what happens with him. Rock Ya-Sin, I think, has performed pretty well in training camp and in the preseason so far. So you have the most depth that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have had at the cornerback position in quite some time, maybe since they both took the job, respectively, back in 2017. Okay, segment number 2 coming your way. Niners cut candidates. Who are players who are in danger of getting axed? Let's talk about it right now. Coming up on today's San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports, I'm Chase Sr. We're going to take a look at a fresh list of Niners cut candidates. This coming after 2 preseason games for San Francisco. Just want to take a gander at which players are in danger of not making the initial 53-man roster. First, if you hate the Las Vegas Raiders, Niners-Raiders preseason finale on Friday night, then I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. And of course, San Francisco. Niners cut candidate number 1, running back Elijah Mitchell. This week, Isaac Guerendo, 4th-round pick, returning to practice. Patrick Taylor, another running back who's been banged up, returning to practice. Jordan Mason has been one of the most improved players all throughout Niners training camp. You have Christian McCaffrey as your RB1. Elijah Mitchell, still hurt with that hamstring injury. And he continues to be and stay and get hurt throughout his entire NFL career. So he's injured once again, this time because of that hamstring injury. It's kept him out over the last couple of weeks. Jordan Mason runs physically. He is durable. He runs decisively. He can carry the pile. He brings some boom to that Niners running back position. He has worked and has clearly made strides as far as him catching the ball out of the backfield. And I think that it would be ridiculous for Jordan Mason to not get more carries and to not be RB2. So where is there a spot for Elijah Mitchell on this team? If he makes it on previous performances, not what he's done of late. And I know that Cody Schrader, his yards per carry haven't been good, and we haven't seen him do much as far as running the football. I've actually seen some juice as a returner, but I want to see more. I think there's a better football player in there. I think Cody Schrader's struggles as far as picking up yards out of the backfield have been mostly due to horrendous offensive line play. And you know who I've been impressed with the last 2 weeks in the preseason? Matt Breida. He still has some decent speed. That wheel route that he caught from Josh Dobbs, He looked electric in the open field. I still think he has some good ball left in the tank. So two things can be true here with Elijah Mitchell. He's a talented running back who has done some great things with San Francisco. He's been a productive player when healthy. But the other truth, he is literally always hurt. Year 1, year 2, year 3, at what point is enough? Cut candidate number 2, Trent Taylor. I just simply think that San Francisco has to end the Trent Taylor experience. I have simply seen enough. He doesn't offer enough as a returner, as a punt returner or kick returner. He's small. He's not fast. He's not explosive. He's not shifty. The best quality about Trent Taylor is that he doesn't fumble punts. You're telling me that's enough to make the team on a Super Bowl contender when there are other players who offer San Francisco so much more electricity? And as a wide receiver, he's just not a wide receiver in this league. He can't make the team just because he's sure-handed and he's George Kittle's buddy who's been staying at George Kittle's crib throughout training camp. You know what I want to see? I want to see rookie Jacob Cowing as the punt returner. I think that Cody Schrader is a better kick returner at this point than Trent Taylor. And Trent Taylor in game action, he hasn't proved it at wide receiver or as a return man. Brock Purdy wanted him to keep running upfield when he got the start alongside Purdy against New Orleans. He fell down, and then there was another play in which he got taken down and he slipped. Trent Taylor is not a wide receiver in this league, and he shouldn't make this club just by being a return man. So keeping Taylor is just a low upside, vanilla move, and it would be too much of a safe move for San Francisco. And the best businesses in sports, high-level corporate America, are the ones who are aggressive, not the ones that just play it safe all the time. And I just don't see how you have Trent Taylor make this squad when you have 6 wide receivers who are clearly ahead of him, better, more valuable, have more talent, and have more upside. Brandon Aiyuk, Deebo Samuel, Jawan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, Jacob Cowing, Chris Conley. Those are the 6 wide receivers, in my opinion, who should make the team. Chris Conley is a very good special teams player who's had a really good training camp. The Niners have barely played him in the preseason, so clearly they value him. And if we're going to talk about other wide receivers who have a shot, Ronnie Bell, he could have a shot. Robbie Chosen-Anderson had a 60-yard deep ball bomb touchdown on Tuesday from Brock Purdy. It was a dime. He runs better than Trent Taylor. So there are going to be difficult decisions to make with that 6th or 7th wide receiver spot. And while we're here, we could have a couple of different wide receivers on this show. We're going to get to another one coming up. Danny Gray is another cut candidate for San Francisco. I thought it was hilarious how NBC Sports Bay Area tweeted out a video of Danny Gray's catch from Sunday Night Football when it nearly went through his hands and he nearly dropped it. It could have been picked off. Instead, he corralled it. And NBC Sports Bay Area is like, what a catch for Danny Gray. Bad tweet from the intern. I think Danny Gray gets cut too. Ronnie Bell, his roster position, also in danger here. The seat starting to get a little bit warmer for him. And this is why. I think that Bell can play in the NFL. Last year in the preseason, we saw it. He was really dynamic and picking up yards after the catch in a very Deebo Samuel type of way without the speed and explosion, but he brought that physicality to the position. This year in the preseason, though, what has happened with Ronnie Bell? Multiple drops, lack of concentration. He's also had no separation in game and throughout training camp practices. And look, this is the reality of the situation. San Francisco might be too deep at wide receiver. And I said this on draft night and after the draft when the Niners took Ricky Pearsall and then Jacob Cowing. They like both of those players. They clearly value both of those players. You're not going to cut them going into year 1, especially after Cowing balled out. Ricky Pearsall injured right now. Ronnie Bell, a former 7th rounder, might not make this team. So whose seat is the hottest among all players on this Niners roster? I want you to drop me a name down below in the comment section right now. Our sponsor for today's Cut Candidates video is Game Time. If you want to put together some great memories and you want to go to a sporting event, a comedy show, a concert, a theater event, Game Time is your answer. They specialize in last-minute tickets, and you're guaranteed to get the lowest price on the Game Time app when you compare their prices with other ticketing apps. A suggestion? Toggle the all-in pricing tool so that you will not get hit with all those surprise fees at checkout. And I just want you to take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. So download the app, create an account, use the code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That is first purchase only. CHATSPORTS. If you're looking to go to a San Francisco Niners game and you want to go Niners-Raiders, Allegiant Stadium, Friday night, tickets available for that. If you want to go to opening night, week 1, Monday Night Football, Aaron Rodgers, NorCal native, returning back to NorCal to take on the Niners, as San Francisco has really owned him throughout his career. Still tickets available there as well. I love this app too because you can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. There's the vantage point there, the views from your seat, but then you have the aerial view where you can look down at the stadium, and if you say, I want to sit behind the end zone, get that all 22 look. I want to sit 50-yard line. It's very easy to do with the Game Time app. San Francisco Giants tickets also available on the Game Time app. And like I said, not just sports, comedy shows, theater events, concerts, they have it all. Use that code CHATSPORTS. Get $20 off. Cut candidate number 4 is the safety Tracy Walker, who the Niners signed a couple of weeks ago. And some people might be surprised by this. Some people might not be. San Francisco still, because of the injury to Talanoa Hufanga, even though he's getting closer to coming back, has some questions as far as the depth there. But Tracy Walker is a player who has played well in moments, and he's played a lot of football. 79 games with the Detroit Lions prior to signing with the Niners, including 43 starts. He's drawn a couple of penalties so far in the preseason. When the Niners signed him, I did say this is a safety-friendly system. We saw what happened with Deshaun Gibson. Niners signed him after the injury to Jimmy Ward, and he ended up playing so well after signing him to the practice squad that they moved Jimmy Ward to nickel, and they kept Deshaun Gibson on the field, who ended up being a really good player for this team the last 2 years. Signed with the Jacksonville Jaguars going into 2024, does have that PED suspension, but I just don't think that Walker is going to make this team. And part of that is because of the emergence of George Odom at safety. He's looked at as one of the better special teams coverage guys in the NFL, but he's gotten a lot of reps at that safety spot. He's performed well, good ball skills, a lot of interceptions so far in training camp, some pass breakups during the games. I think that he's looked pretty good on the field too. And while there is a chance that Talanoa Hufanga plays week 1, Kyle Shanahan saying that this week, if he can't, I still think the safety starters will be Jair Brown and George Odom. And then you have Malik Mustafa as one of your backups. You might be able to get away with 3 safeties on that game day roster week 1 until Hufanga can come back. If Hufanga does come back, then you have 2 safeties at each spot. And then I definitely think that Tracy Walker is on the outside looking in. Cut candidate number 5, and really number 6 if you include me talking about Danny Gray. There are a lot of cut candidates on this team, of course. It's Cam Latu, the former 3rd-round pick from 2 drafts ago out of Alabama. I liked Cam Latu at Alabama. I thought he was a really solid player for Nick Saban. He was big, long strider. He ran well for his size, very athletic. Had some good college production with the Crimson Tide. I'm sorry, I have to be honest here. He has been horrible in his first 2 years. It is time to end that experiment. It is time to move on. I know the Niners have missed on some 3rd-round picks of late. Ty Davis-Price, Trey Sermon before that. Now it looks as though Cam Latu. He is just not an NFL tight end. And he's not a capable tight end on a team that has Super Bowl aspirations. He suffered from drops. He doesn't create separation. I don't think he's a good blocker. He's gotten bulldozed when he's tried to block. He's been injured. It is just simply time to move on. And among the 2 tight ends who were drafted 2 years ago, Braden Willis looks to be the better player, and Braden Willis doesn't even seem that good. So Eric Saubert has kind of emerged as the Niners tight end too. Doesn't bring you much as far as being a pass catcher, but as a trusted blocker. And we know that the Niners and Kyle Shanahan really like those trusted blocking tight ends. That's why Ross Dwelley and Charlie Warner were on this team for so long. So that is my list of fresh Niners cut candidates. Of course, you can obviously expand on that list. You could drop me some names down below in the comment section during roster cutdown day, which is coming up on Tuesday after the preseason wraps up. We'll, of course, do that video and take a look at all of the players who were let go by San Francisco. Before we hop on out of here, give me a follow on X and Instagram at Chase_Senior. And thank you so much for watching the show. Nick Dolfer, a $24 super chat. Are there any offensive linemen that got let go that could add to the Niners? So it's funny that you asked that, and thank you so much for that super chat. As I just mentioned, roster cutdown day is Tuesday, a week from today. At that point, we'll see if any good offensive linemen get let go. Here's the thing about offensive linemen. There aren't a lot of good ones, so teams aren't going to let quality offensive linemen go. And you know what's funny about the Niners offensive line? There are questionable spots for their starters. I actually think their depth is in a decent spot. An updated look at our Super Chat battle. We're up to $61 in supers. We are competing against the Las Vegas Raiders report. Can we get close? Can we get that victory? We can always take down the Raiders report.
We try to take him down in the field. We try to take him down within the walls of Chat Sports. You know we're giving them the business on Friday, baby. Got some ground to make up today, though.
Yes, sir. Thanks for hanging out here with us live on the Niners Report. Kenny Powers makes some room for that punter, Presley Harvin. He had some boots on Sunday night, that is for sure. Look, if Mitch Wishnowsky continues to deal with arthritis, you know that you have a decent punter in Harvin. Melvin McGee, hey Chase, San Francisco, I love it. Dave D, Latu had his chance, bye-bye. Exactly. All right, coming up next, we're going to preview Niners, Raiders preseason game number 3. So continue to hang out here with us. $40 away from 100 in Super Chats. One more segment left to go. Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report. I'm Chase Senior. Coming up, we are going to preview the Niners preseason finale rivalry game against the Las Vegas Raiders. And we're going to give you an interesting twist for this preview video. I linked up with the host of the Raiders Report by Chat Sports, Mitchell Renz. I was just on his bachelor party a couple of weeks ago as we went to Cancun, Mexico. We have recovered. And I asked him a couple of questions about the Raiders. 5 biggest storylines about Las Vegas going into this game, some of their biggest strengths, some of their biggest weaknesses. So this really will be a show that will inform you as to what you can expect in this game and just give you a detailed look at the Las Vegas Raiders. And this is a proper way to start this show. If you want the Niners to put that beat down on the Las Vegas Raiders and kick their ass, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. This game coming up on Friday, August 23rd. It is going to be a late game for those of you on the East Coast. This is very rare to see a football game this late for the East Coasters out there. And we have people who watch this show from all around the world. It is going to start at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific. So even for people on the West Coast, you don't see any games that start this late. It is a special occasion because it's the preseason. San Francisco, 6-point favorites. The total over-under for this game at 35 even. Why are the Niners such big favorites? We'll explain coming up just around the corner. A programming reminder, by the way. We will be live for Niners Raiders right here on the 49ers Report on Friday night. And even though it's a late game, we're going to be hanging out late together. Show starts at 9 p.m. Eastern, an hour before kickoff, 6 p.m. out on the West Coast. And if you haven't experienced our watch parties, it is the best place to experience a Niner game day outside of being at the actual game. As for the top Niner storylines against the Las Vegas Raiders going into this third preseason game, San Francisco expected to play their starters. And it's going to be different from what the Niners did against the New Orleans Saints when I don't think Kyle Shanahan did Brock Purdy any favors. Kyle Shanahan started Brock Purdy, but 3/5 of the offensive line started that game. And then no skill position players started in that game. Now, part of the offensive line issues, Aaron Banks' finger surgery, Trent Williams holding out. But wouldn't you imagine that if you want Brock Purdy to get quality game reps, that you would have some of the starters play with him against a very good Saints defense that I think is going to be a top 10 unit in the National Football League this year? Kyle Shanahan didn't do that. He didn't approach it the same way that I would have. But in this game against the Raiders, I think that we will see Brock Purdy play with the skill position players, and we'll see, once again, 3/5 of this offensive line. And you could certainly tell that Brock Purdy, in his struggles, hadn't practiced a lot with a lot of those backups. Communication was off. Things were sloppy. Brock Purdy was inaccurate. It looked as though he was a little bit indecisive, held onto the ball too long, tried to force the issue, took some unnecessary hits. Didn't get hurt, thankfully, but hopefully those things get cleaned up a little bit. Unfortunately for San Francisco, and we talked about this earlier this week, first-round pick Ricky Pearsall will not play. That shoulder injury continues to be a problem. Now, the Niners have not said it's a serious injury, but he hasn't practiced in a long time, which means he's not going to play in this game. So we're going to go through this preseason slate without having seen Ricky Pearsall on the field at all. That is a bummer. To the defensive side of the football, according to Pro Football Focus, I know it's just the preseason, but given how the Niners declined last year defensively, this is somewhat notable. The 49ers have had the worst defense among 32 teams in the NFL throughout preseason play. Shout out to Kevin Kruger for putting this out on X. I hop on with his dad, Larry Kruger, every Friday on his show. And we have some great Niners conversations. And Kev was able to put these numbers out on social media. The Niners' defensive grade, according to PFF, 53.9. Worst in the NFL. Their tackle grade, it's been sloppy. They've missed a lot of them. 39. Also worst. Their coverage grade, 48.1. Second worst. And then their run defense grade, 50.8. Fourth worst in the NFL. That is not a good sign, especially with the first-year defensive coordinator, Nick Sorensen, has to get figured out prior to week 1 against the Jets. Another key storyline here for San Francisco, still no Trent Williams, who is holding out, and Brandon Aiyuk has not signed that contract extension as of this recording. He is holding in. All signs point to him coming back, but nothing official as of this recording during our live show on Tuesday. I do want to talk about the offensive line, and in particular, 3 rookies who have been very impressive. The early returns for these players pointing up, and this is a great development for this organization, which has had troublesome offensive line play, to put it lightly, over the last couple of years. 3rd-round pick, right guard Dominic Puni, who played left tackle at Kansas, didn't give up a sack, has been awesome. I want to see the Niners continue to give him snaps, reps, and experience so that he is ready to go against a very stout Jets defensive line week 1. Dominic Puni gives this team a streak of nastiness, physicality, youth, juice, smarts. He seems to have figured out the system really quickly. He has really good awareness. Dominic Puni looks to be the real deal. And he has really impressed this coaching staff. He's impressed the likes of Fred Warner. Now, this is why you subscribe to this show, because I've been saying for weeks that Dominic Puni has been doing a great job. I've been saying for weeks he could start at right guard for this football team. I love the selection when they took him in the 3rd round. And now you see some of these national NFL analysts starting to do some tape work. Brian Baldinger, Jeff Schwartz, and they're saying Dominic Puni is one of the most impressive rookies in this draft class so far in the preseason. And then 2 other rookies who are a little bit under the radar here, Drake Nugent and Jarrett Kingston. Jarrett Kingston was a 6th-round pick out of USC, like Dominic Puni, played tackle in college, has moved to the interior. So far this preseason for Kingston, 61 pass blocking reps, 1 pressure given up in 2 games. That's a good development for this Niners team. And then Drake Nugent. He was a staple for us along that Michigan offensive line last year that ended up being a big reason why they won the national championship. Can he unseat Jake Brendel? I'm not sure. But this is what I do know. Jake Brendel was one of the worst starting centers in the NFL. And Drake Nugent against the Saints allowed no pressures on 29 snaps. He was the only center not to allow a pressure. And then on 60 snaps this preseason, he has given up only 1 pressure. He's played a little bit of center and right guard. I think his natural position is center. Keep an eye out for Drake Nugent and Jarrett Kingston. A lot more to get to here on the show, but first, who you got? LV for the Raiders, SF for the San Francisco 49ers. Get those game predictions in right now down in the comment section. Our sponsor for our Niners-Raiders preview is Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike on other apps, on Prize Picks, it is just you against the numbers, and all you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you watch the winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. And you can turn $10 into $1,000. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50. Prize Picks also running a special throughout September. 1 Caleb Williams passing yard gets you 1 win on Prize Picks every week in September. Our selections that we like for the football season: Patrick Mahomes, special player, but I think he has less than 4,299.5 passing yards. Tyreek Hill, more than 1,375.5 receiving yards. Saquon Barkley, more than 999.5 rushing yards. I think that's a steal. And then Garrett Wilson, I think that he has a lot of catches if Aaron Rodgers can stay healthy, more than 90.5 receptions. So download the app for free, create an account, prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS for up to a $100 deposit match. With the Las Vegas Raiders, let's give you some insight on the opponent and some storylines around the Raiders going into this preseason game. The Raiders played a lot of their starters deep into the game last week against the Dallas Cowboys. That was kind of their dress rehearsal. The Raiders in this game, not expected to play a lot of their starters. So, after Gardner Minshew was named the #1 quarterback, Aiden O'Connell their #2 this past week by Antonio Pierce, we could see a lot of Nathan Peterman at quarterback for the Raiders. Their first-round pick from last year, defensive end Tyree Wilson out of Texas Tech, needs to play well. Mitchell Renz, host of the Raiders Report, saying that he could get traded. Myself and Larry Krueger were talking about Tyree Wilson as a potential trade target for the Niners because they lack depth at defensive end. Because of him being a really good athlete, I do think that Wilson could play inside or outside. Byron Young, the linebacker, is a cut candidate for the Raiders. He was a 3rd-round pick in 2023. He needs to bring it. If he struggles, he might get axed and not make that Raiders 53. The Raiders' offensive weaknesses. The quarterback play has not been good. And because of that, in my opinion, I don't think the Raiders win a lot of games this year. I think the Chiefs will still be dominant. I think the Chargers improve. I think the Broncos improve. They really like Bo Nix. And if you don't have a quarterback, you are just going to float in mediocrity. I know that Gardner Minshew played pretty well last year under Shane Steichen, but Shane Steichen's a really good offensive mind. He put him in a position to succeed after he replaced Anthony Richardson. Luke Getsy, I haven't seen him be a good offensive coordinator with the Chicago Bears. Now he's with the Raiders, a questionable hire, and I just don't think that Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell are starters in this league. So Raider fans have been in shambles about their quarterback play. The offensive line run blocking has not been good, and then the red zone offensive play calling has been very spotty. At times, maybe the Raiders have moved the football, but then they stall inside the 20 in that red area. The Raiders' defensive weaknesses. They have been struggling against the run. Maybe that could lead to Cody Schrader finally popping off and having some vacant running lanes to run through, because that has not been the case for him. The blocking in front of him has not been good, leading to not a lot of ample opportunities for Schneider as a runner. Matt Breida, he's trying to make this team. Could he end up having an opportunity to have some decent production to make the squad against a bad Raiders run defense? MJ Devonshire, he has been getting cooked. That is a name to look out for as well. And then they haven't been able to contain quarterbacks in the pocket. So Brock Purdy, is he going to try to make plays out of structure? Josh Dobbs does a great job of that. Brandon Allen is more of that inside the pocket, make the read, make the quick decision, pull the trigger type of quarterback. And Kyle Shanahan likes those types of QBs, but look out for Dobbs to maybe make some plays with his legs. And then Tanner Mordecai, he can run a 4-4-4-5. I think he's going to get some nice playing time. He can make some plays with his legs. Be sure to join us for our watch party, Niners Raiders Friday night. As far as a preseason game goes, doesn't really get much better than this. We are going to do a huge audience in this game. Our pregame show gets underway an hour before kickoff, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific. Be sure to subscribe, hit that bell icon, turn on those notifications. Therefore, when we do go live, you'll be notified. Super Chat battle here. Raiders report kind of kicking our ass right now. Can we at least get to 100 before we hop on out of here? We are at $60 in Super Chats right now. I am going to put in our Super Chat shot clock. 2 minutes. 2 minutes on the Super Chat shot clock. If we get some Super Chats, we'll hang out. If not, we're hopping on out of here.
You're on the clock, baby. On the clock. Time is ticking. Ricardo, bold prediction. Aiyuk will be signed by today.
Ooh, all right. If that happens, Chip and I might have to be racing back to the studio.
I'm running back in, baby. Sorry, Smitty.
Oh, here we go. I thought we had an update from Jeremy Fowler.
Could you imagine?
So Nick Wagner, Diamador Lenore looks poised for a breakout year that could finally elevate him into the team's galaxy of stars. And then Jeremy Fowler quote tweeted that and said, for all the turbulence around Aiyuk and Trent Williams and their contracts, don't forget about Lenore as a player San Francisco would very much like to pay. So I think that's a homegrown player they hit on late that they would like to bring back.
Lore going with the Niners 24-21 in this one. Anthony Orzechowski as well, Niners 24-21. With the Niners starters playing, you got to think that they get something done, at least early on. You want to see a little bit of something promising heading into the season. Although if Aiyuk signs, that would also be pretty promising. That would. Him and Trent Williams, of course. You get those two signed, like the vibes are a lot better. But right now, I mean, kind of in limbo. Definitely a little bit concerned. Especially with Trent Williams, man. Like, what's going on with him? Got to get him in the building. You can't be without Trent Williams. That O-line will be cooked.
No doubt. The day is almost done from Lamar Livingston. Yes, for Chip and I, we've had a busy day today. Busy day today. A lot of content. I'm going to go home, watch some baseball, and chill. Lamar Livingston, $5. He says it again. The day is almost over. I wish he was signed already. Oh, that's why you're saying that. Because people are saying, Aiyuk, going to sign today. Hey, look, when the Niners made the trade for Christian McCaffrey 2 years ago, I want to say it was at like 10 Eastern. And I was like in my living room doing like stretches on a yoga mat. And I had all these texts coming in, but I wasn't by my phone. And then a coworker called me, and then I answered that. And he was like, yo, Niners traded for Christian McCaffrey. I'm like, oh shit. I put on some clothes. I ran to the studio. It's about 0.7 miles from my place, and we ended up having an awesome live show. Yeah, it was awesome. Especially because I had talked about McCaffrey on the show, and people were like, this will never happen. Clickbait, you're an idiot. How about that? I think it was Lauderay, actually. Or wait, no. I think it was Trace. Trace or Lauderay. Yeah, I forget who was the producer. This is when Chip was a young pup still at Clemson. Probably recovering from a frat party the night before or something like that. All right, good stuff here today. Wanted to hop on live, give you an Aiyuk update. Thanks to everybody who watched the show. Lamar Livingston, thank you for that $5 super chat. Friday night is going to be an epic party, and it's really exciting that the Niners are expected to play their starters a final dress rehearsal in that preseason game for Week 1. For Chip, I'm Chase. For the faithful, we out. See ya.